Welcome. Thanks for joining us for the Munch and Learn this, where are we? The 4th of November, the day before the next lockdown. I'm going to hand over to Emily, who is going to present for us in a minute. But firstly, I have some announcements that I'll do after I've just done a quick once around. Usual style, who are you? Where are you? What are you here for? Liam Henderson, chair of the Rail Innovation Group in London. Emily?
Emily, co-founder of One Big Circle in sunny Bristol, and Liam's asked me to do a little presentation today about our One Big Journey into Rail.
Cool. Johanna?
Sounds really exciting, calling it One Big Journey.
Oh, it's clever of him. No, he was clever. It's a clever title from Liam. I was impressed.
Johanna, friends of Liam's and fellow with Rail Innovation Group and in sunny Brighton.
We've got Ben Craze.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben Craze, Chief Executive of Infinitive Group. We're a SME in the rolling stock world and a founding member of the Rail Innovation Group.
Thank you. Adam Sargent.
Hi there, I'm Adam Sargent. Currently working as a performance analyst for Network Rail. Currently in a restaurant. But yeah, currently working through the lockdown.
Thanks. What are you having for lunch?
That's just showing off.
Oh, burger and chips.
A burger and chips, yeah. No, I'm full of meat. I've got so many meetings today, so I thought I might as well just jump in before lockdown, get into a restaurant, have something to eat.
Thank you for joining us. John Lawrence.
Hi, it's a recent member. I'm John Lawrence. I run JPL Diversified consulting firm, largely on infrastructure related stuff, operational technology.
Thank you. John, you are our latest member, and I've just put you on the website, but I'll be doing an announcement later.
Very good, thank you very much.
We've got Simon Brown.
Simon Brown, Managing Director of Opal Rail. We're a strategy consulting and structured finance intermediary, helping clients in the rail sector raise the capital they need to deliver on their priorities.
Great, thanks. Paul Bigland.
Oh, yeah, I'm Paul Bigland. I'm a railway journalist and a photographer to the railway industry. Up in sunny West Yorkshire at the moment. Yeah, always interested to come along and hear what's going on.
Thank you. Hayden.
Afternoon, everybody. Hayden Sutherland. I'm from Glasgow, where the sun is shining. Actually, it's coming in this. I like Johanna. I guess everybody's a friend of Liam. I wanted to say we all are friends of Liam. You've got lots of friends here. I'm a founder and chair of the Open Transport Initiative. Quite frankly put, if anybody's building more and more accounts in the mobility and transport sector, and they're not making them so they can share this data, we build standards and front standards for that.
Great, thanks. Dave Sampson.
Hi, I'm Dave Sampson. I'm in West London, and I run a small consultancy that is involved in IoT, smart technology and connectivity.
Thanks. Chris Jones.
Hi, Ron. I'm Chris from DFT, so I'm leading on the Southern Access to Heathrow programme, and I am currently in London.
You have to look at the window to check.
Yeah.
No, it's actually really sunny. Oh, that's fine.
Oh, I thought you were just checking you were in London, not just what the weather was.
Oh, my head's all over the shop. I didn't really sleep. I was watching the US election, and now Nevada have decided to go home until tomorrow, so I probably won't sleep tonight either. But...
Anna in a train depot.
Yeah, I'm in a train depot. No, that's why I'm wearing a scarf. It's really cold. Now I'm actually in a central London office for the last day in 2020, I guess. So I'm Anna. I work for Hitachi. I just moved from business development into bid management role.
Oh, cool. Peter and his cat.
Peter Hicks, plus Cleo the cat, who's now on the floor because obviously she's doesn't like being centre stage. Director at Open Train Times, working with numerous companies in the rail industry on data-related operational projects.
Great. Daniel Pike.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Daniel. I work for Clockner Metals, business development in the railway sector. So metal supply for lots of different projects, really.
Great. Indy.
Hi everyone. I'm Indy Uphold. I'm Vice President for Digital Solutions at CACI. We build and operate solutions, technology solutions, and we run the open data platforms for Network Rail. My interest today really is understanding what One Big Circle do.
Thank you. Ben Jones?
Hi, my name is Ben Jones. I'm Business Development Manager for S&B UK. We deal with ticket machines. We deal with gates. We will become a member of this group eventually when I reply to Liam's email, so apologies. It is sunny. I'm in sunny Woking in my home office prison for 100 odd days and counting.
Andy Houghton?
Will it work? Yes, there we go. Andy Horton, Head of Transport for Wi-Fi Spark. We provide, as the name sort of says, Wi-Fi solutions, not only into the rail industry, but into the NHS and into some rather large global retail partners as well.
Great, thank you. And lastly, Chris, without a surname. Chris?
Sorry, I'm Chris Johns. I didn't know you. I thought I wasn't really. I'm not speaking today. I'm just listening. But yeah, so I'm one of the founders of Passageway. We do smart digital signs. We work with Transport for London and also Transport for Wales. And we're currently working with Innovate UK on real-time COVID-19 health alert and visitor advisory signs as well, which is going live in December.
Great, thank you. Just before I hand over to Emily, I just have a couple of announcements that I've been asked to give you. One is that if you don't know, there is a supplier event, Meet the Buyers, for HS2 between the 23rd and 25th of November, and I'll send a link out after this. There is a podcast currently promoted at the moment with Ben, who's on with us today, about their story at Infinitive. So again, I'll put the link out and make sure you have a listen. We've got a ticketing workshop coming up next week, which Johanna is going to be facilitating for us. She's going to tell us all about the insights she's been reading up about, all the research. And then we have another Munch and Learn in 2 weeks' time with the Emergent Alliance, who are sort of helping to build back better. And we have a new member, JPL Diversified. I'll be promoting more about them later on. Thanks for joining us. Today we were supposed to be in Bristol to do a micro meet, but we decided against that sometime last week, fortuitously, because obviously it would be a bad idea to be there today. So
you might have got stuck in Bristol after midnight if you hadn't left on time.
After the witching hour, when COVID came out.
Worse places. As long as you've got wine.
Yes, always.
So One Big Circle were going to host us. We will do another event with them, with obviously the community. But what I asked Emily is, we met Emily in Bristol at our Startup Rail event last year, and they've had some quite good successes. So we thought it would be a positive session today to hear from the company, their success, their one big journey. So without further ado, Emily, would you like to drive the screen?
I will try. Always that awkward moment waiting for it to actually appear. Is that working?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, excellent. Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Liam, for your introduction. And yeah, as Liam said, I have been asked to talk about our one big journey into rail, a positive story. So it's less kind of about what we do, although that is part of the sort of woven within it. But yeah, just a bit of a kind of quick rattle through how we were newbies in rail, and now we're delivering, as Liam said, delivering multiple partners and even won some awards for what we've been doing, which is really exciting for us. Now, my first analogy about being newbies is I was going to like try and tie it in with the last time that I felt like a newbie somewhere. And I think that was university, and then realised that there was far too much drunkenness and stealing traffic cones to try and make that tie into this story. So I've done a bit of an analogy about a little bit like joining school effectively. Some of the kind of processes it took for us to go from complete outsiders and beginners into becoming, well, this is when the analogy slightly falls down, part of the family, but hopefully you get my drift. There was going to be a bit of a Harry Potter reference, as my kids have watched all the Harry Potters through half term, and I think a bit of a prophecy and a vision at the start would have been quite useful, but I couldn't make the rest of it tie in. So for now, we're going to kind of go through why we started, and then sort of what we learned, the experimenting we did, making friends, proving, sort of passing the tests that were needed, and then, as I say, becoming part of the industry, or what we feel like now as we are part of the industry. Okay, and at the end, happy to answer any questions at the end, or yeah, jump in if there's anything that needs clarifying as we go. Okay, so yeah, this was an entirely accidental part of our journey. And so if I begin back at the beginning, in 2013, I started with a couple of other co-founders, a sports technology company in the video space, but in sports, and it was about enabling people to capture their sporting replays, their finest moments of their amateur sporting matches and events, and being able to watch them instantly online. And that was a company called My Action Replay. It was a kitchen table startup. We sort of packed it around our jobs and families, and eventually started to grow that a little bit. And in 2016, we were looking for funding, and eventually a company at the time that was the largest digital platform for cricket put in an offer to acquire us, which was all very exciting time. We were being acquired for an equity share. There was going to be another big journey that we were going to join with them as a kind of large and growing company. And in 2017, at the start of 2017, that all went through. It was a New Zealand-based company. We'd flown there to kind of do the deal. It was all hugely exciting. And 6 to 8 months after we had started that and they'd acquired us, they went into receivership. So very unexpected circumstances that we found ourselves in. Their funding had essentially run out. They got put in receivership. All our funding to the UK suddenly stopped, and that was the end of that. We had a small team that we had to kind of lose parts of that, but 4 of us that were sitting around in our office wondering what on earth to do, decided to start again. A technology company. We had a background in kind of system solution integration, trying to grow things and make things work. But what we were going to do, we didn't really know. As I said to Liam, we kind of had a company and had people that knew each other and worked well together, but weren't really sure what we were going to do. So our first strapline in that circumstance is that we would do anything for anyone, which wasn't entirely appropriate, but technically speaking, we just needed to know, we needed to find work and earn some money. We gave ourselves a 4-month window in which to do that. And so we did a little bit of app work, we did a little bit of solutions, sort of just with contacts that we knew, but it was very piecemeal. So we needed to refine that in much more detail and go back to our kind of real background, kind of pre-My Action Replay, which was about sort of CCTV, system integration, working in highways, quite challenging environments. So let's use our video and integration specialism. Let's solve challenging technical problems for people who have challenging working environments. We felt our kind of nature was to be very kind of B2B and really get to the root of really tricky, challenging, sort of sharp end problems. It just seemed to be in our nature. We were kind of much better at the grittier stuff than the prettier stuff, as it were. So that was kind of a challenge we set ourselves, again, with a very short parameter of like, you know, we needed to find some who, where, and what, essentially. Who needed us, where were they, and what were the things that they needed? So we went out learning, and this was very much kind of my part of the role was to kind of really, my part of the company was to really get out there and find out what was going on. So we dedicated a few months to, as it says, meeting, listening, learning, visiting, asking, pitching. We went kind of everywhere doing all sorts of things. People were really generous with their time. We would look for people on LinkedIn that were talking about innovation, presenting at events. We were on a PwC program where we got the opportunity to pitch to their partners about our capability, our ability to kind of integrate things and work with tricky, sticky situations. We went to local authorities, business services, broadcasting. We had meetings at the BBC. We went to Eurotunnel and looked at their, Eurotunnel looked at their kind of their capability and their challenges there, emergency services. And on the right there, you can see one of my favorite photos of the whole experience was going up in a huge tower at the emergency services show, wondering if they needed cameras and integration up there. But it was very much a kind of experience of trying to go out and really understand what was going on in all those environments, and ultimately find out what their demands were, what their challenges were, if it was the right timing for us to be involved, if there were any budgets at all. And there were bits and pieces, there was lots of interest, lots of ideas and enthusiasm. And then there was Rail Live 2019, which is the first time I had been to the sea of PPE that Rail Live is. And it was one of kind of a succession of things we were going to, but we listened to the events and the kind of presentations that were happening there. And what really sort of struck home with us was Network Rail talking about engaging with SMEs in their supply chain. I distinctly remember their words as saying they're looking for SMEs with skin in the game, people that have developed something to a certain point beyond kind of the theoretical and the research, and actually, be putting their efforts into developing things that will solve the challenges that rail are meeting. It felt like there was a clear schedule, although, there was definitely, things aren't easy. They're working their way through trying to make things more transparent, but they were definitely open to that conversation. And it felt like a lot of things were tied up and quite kind of comprehensive as well. Further industry events that we went to after this and kind of getting involved in the rail, or starting to read rail press more, gave us some further insight into those challenges. So kind of at the end of this exploration, it was really rail that we decided we were going to focus on. And those of you that are in the SME world know that focus is really key, and kind of not get distracted into other ideas and other opportunities. So at this point we were said, right, let's really dial down on the rail environment and see what we can deliver. And from those conversations we were having, we become very aware that a lot of data can be collected, but it seemed quite inaccessible. There was a lot of kind of legacy kind of systems that essentially enable data to be captured, but quite challenging to access. Sort of stories about data being on hard drives and sort of biked to Derby to be processed and then sent off on another courier bike to someone in another sort of office and area to view that for a couple of weeks on a certain PC. So a lot of physical challenges to actually viewing data. So we went away and started to develop something that could essentially demonstrate exactly what we could do. And we knew from our experience in the sports industry that we could get data from one environment to another online via the cloud and make that data accessible really quickly. We'd never done it in moving vehicles before, so this is what we started to experiment with. So you've got here kind of a range of images of what we'd been up to. Essentially, we created AVA, so Automated Intelligent Video Review. AVA is a lightweight vehicle-borne device that can sit inside any moving vehicle and capture video data as it goes. Obviously, in the early stages, we were very much car-borne and van-borne, so we would drive this around in our windscreen or windscreens. In fact, we even went on bikes with it as well in rucksacks. And on my commute, I used to take it on the train and hold it at the open. It was in the carriages with the push-down windows, so I used to stand at the doorway, looking very suspicious, and just hold the device at the window to capture kind of train data. So we spent a few months of this. I should have said this kind of. I'm keeping a bit of a calendar up here on what's going on. So we essentially wanted to develop this device to capture video from moving vehicles. And as I say, initially it was in cars, but because we've been at Rail Live, we looked into whether we could actually hire a train to go and get some rail footage, because we knew obviously we'd have to start proving things out to see whether it works in a rail environment. So we went back to where Rail Live was up at Quinton and hired our loco for the day, and this brilliant driver, Barry, who just drove us round and round in circles, trying our kind of device in different positions, different kind of settings, etc. And essentially it started to work, which was very exciting for us. It's just some more test images here. And this is one of the images as well, which we were really pleased about, because we were applying machine learning to this video data capture as well. And this is one of my routes into Bristol Temple Meads in the morning. And honestly, it's just the angle of the train. Looks like it's outside the train, but it's not, I promise. This was safely kind of angled from the window. And it identified trackside workers. And this was a really kind of exciting moment for us as well, because we felt this is, really starting to prove it's got some going to have some real functionality in the rail environment. And at the same time, we were developing this dashboard, this AVA dashboard, which was going to show the video data, show the map of where it was from, and kind of data, sort of information about the video data as well. So we were pretty pleased with it where we were at this point. You know, as I say, we'd been kind of proving it all. We'd managed to get some rail track footage from the forward-facing cab, which we felt was really important to take it to the next steps. So, so what to do next? So we were ready to start making friends now, and we felt we had something, we could go back with something tangible. And as a startup, how do we deliver innovation in rail, and what groups can help? And lo and behold, Google search delivers Rail Innovation Group Startup Event, which was fantastic. So I actually dug out the emails that I sent to info at Rail Innovation Group. And I said, hi there, I follow Rail Innovation Group and I've just seen your startup event due in October. We are a small tech SME based in Bristol and currently developing an intelligent video product that we believe will help transform lineside inspection. Essentially, a cab-mounted device that will capture and process video from trains to enable instant viewing of incidents and conditions. We would love to demonstrate this in October and learn what we can from Hitachi and yourselves. Now, this is a Hitachi-sponsored event, and I know Anna's in the group listening today as well. And in fact, we're continuing to have conversations with Hitachi at the moment, thanks to connecting with Hitachi at this event and with Anna being part of the group as well. So, you know, the process is continuing to work. And Deb replied and said, brilliant, yes, we can have the opportunity to pitch and to kind of show people what we're up to. And obviously other startups were there as well, doing a really exciting range of innovations as well in the rail industry. So we kind of couldn't quite believe we'd hit on something that was just exactly what we needed, like a friendly, inclusive space that basically said, yeah, tell us about what you're doing. And there will be some really interested, kind of warm, engaged people here that will listen to it and kind of give you feedback or make connections, and you know, we'll see what comes out of it. And fantastically, they happened to be in Bristol, so that was a lovely synergy. And in fact, the event where it took place is actually where our office is, which is another very helpful coincidence, and is where, you know, as I say, as Liam said, our kind of cancelled event was going to be today. So we had the event in October, and we were able to talk about AVA and essentially the process of how it works. You know, the data capture on board operational vehicles, transmitting it so that it's instantly available online. And that certainly, you know, we seem to have a lot of conversations afterwards, a lot of people interested in what we were doing. One of the contacts we had there was from Transport for Wales, and they were very excited about what we were doing because they had been talking about the very same things that they needed. So essentially, they wanted to see what was happening along the line side of the whole of their routes, and they were struggling to find a way to do that. They had one driver that would take out a GoPro, film lots of footage, and then spend weeks looking at, like, processing that footage, essentially splitting it up into routes, emailing it to colleagues, trying to kind of add information on top of it as well. So they were definitely trying to kind of deliver what we could. And then so someone from Transport Wales heard our pitch, passed the information on to the vegetation management group that had been discussing this, and we got a phone call the very next day asking us to come over and tell them, when I say come over, go across the bridge to Wales, to Cardiff, to go and talk to them a little bit more about where we were and what we were doing. And they knew we were startups. They had seen our pitch. They knew we were at the very sort of start of the journey, and this was a real innovation that was being delivered. So it was because we had come at it from, you know, through Rail Innovation Group, I think they very much felt like this is a great way to explore technology in a very kind of lightweight way, an experimental way, but it could potentially deliver them a solution. We had startups that were there with the talks that were there, GWR were there, for example, and other suppliers. And as I mentioned, you know, we're still having great conversations with Hitachi through Anna and Lorna at the time. We started to get operational and commercial feedback as well from the sharp end, which again is invaluable because, you know, being complete newbies in rail, we knew what we could achieve technically, but we had to make sure that this was going to fit commercially and operationally. And then we got our awarded, we were then awarded our Recognised Innovation Scheme badge, which was really exciting. It was the first kind of badge of honour in the rail environment, and it gave us a lot of confidence to kind of move on to to the next steps. And the next steps as well was to contact Rail Live. Now, the people that had pitched at Rail Live, or had presented at Rail Live from Route Services, I remember the guy, Rob Morton, had said about looking for SMEs with skin in the game. We want to work with them. They were mandated to work with them. So poor chap, I had hounded him as he came off the stage and made sure I got his details, because I said, I think we've got something you're going to be interested in and we'd like to come back to you. And having presented at the startup, having had this initial conversation with Transport for Wales as well, we felt we had the confidence to go to Network Rail and say, you know, we think you could really be interested in what we can deliver. And through a bit of persistence, we managed to keep talking to the right people and eventually ended up getting an operational trial on the NMT. So they gave us a little bit of space on the here in the cab where you can see our AVA device. And in fact, we spotted it at Exeter Station as well, or one of my co-founders did as well. And it sat on board there for 4 weeks, having a trial, essentially capturing video data whilst on the move, transmitting it via 4G, and it was accessible instantly in the AVA dashboard. So all done via the cloud, all done automatically. This was a successful trial. We then started to talk with Signalling Innovations Group as well and Intelligent Infrastructure. And we got meetings with them, and we were able to give demos. And a lot of that was because of what we would continually prove as a kind of sort of iterative process. We could kind of send them images of what we had done. We sent them images from the trial at Quinton, and then obviously we had the NMT data as well. And in fact, our first meeting with Signalling Innovations Group, when we walked into the meeting to have our kind of initial demo, which we'd been not, I was about to say lucky, but you obviously make your own luck, but we'd been able to kind of get that meeting. And as we walked in, they had all our information on their laptop there, and they had been like looking through information that we've been sending other kind of all their colleagues as well, and that they'd picked up through the NMT. So we definitely felt like they were doing our homework on us as we were trying to kind of get access to them. And they certainly said, like, they do get a lot of sort of inquiry. They get approaches for innovation as well, but what we had proved, exactly as kind of Rob Morton had said at Rail Live, is like we'd kind of gone a little bit more. You know, we had got these live trials. You know, we had started working. We got this operational trial with Transport for Wales. You know, we had started to collect enough data from moving vehicles to show that the system was really robust, and all of this was uploaded into our AVA dashboard, and they were able to access that online themselves as well. So it wasn't like it was a kind of completely sort of siloed trial that we'd have to bring and show them. Essentially we could prove that it was doing what it said it would do, available via that web browser. So that was really important to us to be able to prove that. And then we go into the proof part of it as well. So we went from kind of operational, this is what we think we can do and give us a go, to actually we then secured, after our 4-week trial with Transport for Wales, we secured our 12-month contract to deploy AVA across the whole of the region. And that was amazing to go from, as I say, pitching with Rail Innovation Group in October to actually a commercial contract in January to run AVA for 12 months. We're now going into a renewal process for that, to extend that for longer. We won our first R&D contract with SIG using AVA technology, and from various events that we've been at as well, we'd also gone into collaboration with the Manufacturing Technology Centre to win one of the SBRI bids on using video for station surveillance and security. So we invited to pitch at the Signal Annual Expo, which helpfully as well was also in Bristol. Sounds like lots was going on in Bristol, but we were in London and other places a lot, in Birmingham as well, at many events. And this is a point where it was really interesting. SIG used us in a case study as well, because what they said is that although we'd come to them with our AVA product, we were able to demonstrate kind of the suite, the range of services that we had around that, or our capabilities. And although we didn't know that at the time, the first challenging problem that they had to deal with was a points detection challenge that they had been trying to focus on with a tail lamp mounted camera. And when they heard about what we could do, although they liked the AVA product, they also wondered if we could help them meet the challenges that they had in this sort of R&D capacity as well. And we were really open to that. So we kind of went into the meeting thinking, oh, we really now need to try and get them to want Ava. And the conversation turned around and then like, this is actually what we need done first. Is it something that you can deliver, go away and think about it and come back if you think you can do it, which we did. And we won that contract, that R&D contract with them. So it was very much about kind of like having enough to be able to engage with those initial conversations, but then being able to adapt to actually what the challenge is from the client end, from the user end. And I think that's a little bit of what I touch on in the end about what we've learned is that ability to remain adaptable and respond to kind of what the needs are. And then you can kind of grow. And I'll get on to a bit about how actually then Ava started being deployed as well. So this was fantastic at the SIG. I was able to pitch Ava to the audience and we had fantastic engagement presenting that to a really great rail audience. And that was in sort of February I was about to say last year, it feels like a long time ago, February of this year. So David Shipman and Wayne Cherry at SIG have been fantastic in this respect. And January to March as well, as I say, we were doing lots of events. Obviously, some of you were probably as well at the Startup Unleashing UK Startups event in London at Fujitsu, which is, I think might have been the last time we saw you guys face to face. But again, being invited to be part of that community and to see the plans that were in place for UK startups to really engage kind of to a wider global audience, but to be able to do that within that umbrella as well. It just felt at every stage that someone was kind of like speaking the same language as us and understanding our challenges and knowing that, being able to, we would have more capability under kind of umbrella organization as well as kind of striking out on our own and trying to do everything. But so we attended all these events. The purple and the black just went with me everywhere. It was fantastic because actually the video was playing on our these screens all the time, and it's really current and up-to-date video data, so it might be something that had been captured yesterday of an environment that people could view online. So it was really capturing people's engagement. We were always having sort of interested conversations and follow up from those. And I particularly like this photo here because this is Lucy, who many of you know, I'm sure, as well, and then Chris Brown from MTC as well. Both Liam introduced me to Lucy. Chris I met at one of the events because we happened to be having lunch, and Liam and I were just saying at the beginning kind of the value of just being in the environment where you've got innovators, deliverers, SMEs, people with challenges, all sorts of people that are looking for kind of the ultimate goal is to make things better and safer and work things across the board. So it felt there was a lot of synergy at these meetings and we really were making the most of them. And on the other side, back at home, this is in fact our window of our office here. We don't have the whole of this building, it just makes it look a bit cool. And that was another Hogwarts analogy, but those are the only two I could find for the whole presentation. But anyway, that's where we are at the engine shed in Bristol. So essentially we had this brilliant we had events going on where we were getting feedback and engagement, and then at the same time we were developing our Ava capability and responding to kind of other technical requirements that we were finding out about as well. So the project with SIG, for example, and the project that we were doing with the MTC on station surveillance both required development alongside the kind of business development as well. So that's what we kind of did at the start of this year. And then we basically enabled to become quite well established. So when COVID hit, we had good enough relationships with both Signalling Innovation Group and with TFW to essentially be able to carry on what we had been delivering, like enable them to capture data. And our work with SIG has accelerated really rapidly to ensure that Ava can be deployed across multiple routes and regions with Network Rail. Obviously, once lockdown happened, no one could get out to site, no one could go into offices to view data. There was still Ava can go into the cabs to collect data and sit on the windscreen, but also the other challenge with social restrictions is that people couldn't go into the cabs to fit them with the driver already in the cab. So we worked really quickly with SIG to develop this external housing which essentially means our AVA device sits in here, and the device sits on the tail lamp bracket of any train that has that tail lamp bracket. And SIG quickly got agreement with all the TOCs that this could sit on any operational train. It can get slotted on at the station, and then it can get pulled off by hand at the kind of destination station once you've collected the route. And all that data is being transmitted via 4G into our ever improving AVA dashboard, where it maps out everywhere that AVA has been. It's searched by ELR, miles and chains. We have markup capability, annotations, sightings, so lots of different elements that have come from feedback that we've had from basically delivering now lots of kind of training to use AVA, and lots of license holders within Network Rail and Transport for Wales can now access the data from across these routes. Transport for Wales, for example, have a dedicated AVA working group that we meet with monthly virtually now, and they continually use AVA. They map their network every 4 weeks with 2 devices, which is a kind of such an operationally efficient way to do things, and have multiple users both with Transport for Wales and Network Rail on the same dashboard. And we're also now working with tier 1 suppliers that can access that data as well, so they can able to use that on their projects. And the whole concept of collect once but use multiple times is really coming to the fore now, because there are just so many restrictions that have reduced the ability to collect data or send people out to track to access that. And COVID aside, obviously the need to reduce people going to track and keep trains in operation was massive in advance of COVID, so this has only accelerated it. We made a lot of effort to become, well, not made a lot, we did jump through every hoop needed to become risk-QS verified, which meant obviously that was an easier route into the supply chain. And SIG have been fantastic at essentially creating an internal route for any route or region within Network Rail to call off AVA capability internally, rather than kind of going through lots of different procurement process, us having to go through that individually with lots of different routes and regions. This is some of the feedback we had from, so these people are the engineers, the asset maintainers, the teams that are out and about, or that would have been out and about and do have responsibility for the line, but actually have now got access to the AVA data online from home, and all the data is automatically uploaded to the cloud where they can access it instantly. So we're just, I mean, from everything we've done, this is some of the stuff that we're most proud of, is the fact that it's this data is getting now into the hands of people that need to see it, and is making things operationally more efficient and ultimately safer. So for every bit of data that's captured that reduces teams going out onto track is something, as I say, that we're sort of immensely proud of. So yes, there's a bit of feedback there which comes from, as I say, various disciplines across the organisations, and as I say, this is Network Rail specific, but we have similar from Transport for Wales, and yeah, we've now got a kind of tier 1 suppliers using this data as well. But one of those examples was, when they say there that they would, multiple teams would have to do different inspections, but now actually they can all individually access the David dashboard for that data is invaluable to us. And then now Liam wanted good news stories. So recently we have won a number of awards for AVA. The first one was in, I think, at the start of October. We did a combined application with Transport for Wales, and this is the brilliant Rick Fisher, who's the seasonal planning manager at Transport for Wales, who we work really closely with. There's a picture of him using AVA. So we won, combined with them, we won the Excellence in Technology and Innovation in the Wales Transport Awards, which we're extremely proud of. And then a few weeks ago, we won the Rail Industry Innovation Award for Small Project. And this is, again, kind of another accolade that we're very proud of, about how rail is sort of portrayed as a world where it's difficult for innovators from outside the industry to get hearing. Yet One Book Circle showed admirable persistence, and its product is now showing demonstrable benefits. Now, I'm going to take that admirable persistence as a much more positive way of saying they just don't leave us alone until we've had a conversation with them. But so yeah, that's my new catchphrase now, which I'm very proud about. And this evening we are shortlisted in the Rail Industry Association Rise Awards, for SME growth, and we're up against some fantastic SMEs as well. 3 Squared that Lucy Pryor, that I know, getting to know really well as well, and a couple of other great organisations. But we're just really proud to be kind of up there with those that are already delivering in the rail industry. So yeah, hopefully that's the good news part of the story of kind of where we've got to. And as you've seen, it was a year ago that we did, or just over a year ago that we did our initial presentation at the Rail Innovation Group startup. So it's certainly kind of a journey that we're really proud of. And what we've learned along that, I don't know if I show my age, but I can't say it's good to talk without having Bob Hoskins in my head. I think he did a load of BT adverts, which will probably only resonate with anyone that's of my era, but it's good to talk. It just basically, it all happened from just being out and about and asking people and talking to people and taking time to listen. And when I say good to talk, it's also good to read. So we would quite often target people that had articles and presentations, people that had made an effort to kind of present their own thoughts about the industry, we felt would be receptive to hearing what other people could sort of bring and offer. So they were certainly, without wanting, target's probably the wrong word, but we engaged with people that had already kind of put themselves out there as sort of delivering and wanting to know about what was going on and kind of presenting their own challenges. So yeah, good to talk was just, it's what has got us to where we are today, and it's good to listen as well. So feedback from the users has been invaluable. We've shaped a lot of what we've done by being able to listen to that and have a really positive feedback loop. Because the product is ours, we can shape it according to that need, but not go off target. So again, we're back to focus, but the feedback within that environment is really invaluable and has helped us shape it in a number of really productive ways. We're continually open. We have a really open approach to how we do things and what collaboration opportunities there are. Our whole approach to data is about being open as well. We enable it to be collected, but there are multiple ways in which that can be used, as long as it's all compliant with the data privacy and policies that we have in place with those organisations. So yeah, that's been really key as well, to continue to have that open approach. Opportunities and platforms to pitch are invaluable to us. So physical opportunities in advance of COVID, but now digital opportunities. There's just a kind of a few examples of where we've managed to muscle our way into recently, which has been fantastic. And again, SIG used this as a case study about that kind of adaptive way of working, and then what we could deliver when so I don't know whether I made that clear actually, but obviously initially we worked with SIG on the points detection program, but then when COVID started, we really accelerated just our AVA capability, so the pure kind of data collection, and then being able to access that online. And again, that was kind of because we were always open to those opportunities to understand what was going on. And stay SME, that's what we are. So we are agile and responsive, and as other challenges come up, we hope to be the kind of intelligent video specialist that people come to and say, oh, we've got this, it sounds, is this something you can do? And ideally, it's hopefully something we can do, whilst we still deliver AVA as our core product, and delivering multiple benefits across the industry. So thank you, Rail Innovation Group. You are pretty much where it all started. You gave us that initial platform. You gave us the confidence to think we weren't being mad to think that we could start to deliver something in rail. So it's made a huge difference to our journey. Thanks to you guys for listening and being part of our network, our rail friends and colleagues. And yeah, big thank you to everyone and those organisations, SIG and Transport for Wales especially, that have supported us so far as part of our journey. And please keep in touch. Those are my details there if you want to have a chat about anything rail related or otherwise, or any kind of anything you'd want me to expand on that journey. I know it was a bit of a whistle stop, and I probably didn't go into as much as the kind of tech product, but hopefully it's given you a bit of a good news story about kind of it can be done, and we did turn it around. So thank you. I'll stop sharing now.
That is quite the success story and good news story for you to cover. That's also a really speedy journey. Development of the company. I think also the other companies listening probably may get lulled into thinking how quick and easy it is to get into rail. But obviously, you got to know us at the very start. So we're very grateful that you came to our event. And I'm going to take all credit for all your success going forward. Maybe we didn't get shares. But I did note down actually when you were talking, because this came up, Ben came up with the same thing on his podcast we did, which was about the open approach. And so don't keep everything close to your chest. So share your ideas, get feedback from people who can.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something. It doesn't feel, I think because we'd spent a long time like, oh, we need to try and work out how this is going to work. And it was kind of our, we used off the shelf products as well. So there's nothing especially that we can patent or protect. We just need to be at the forefront of what we can do in kind of the data transmission and that whole end-to-end system. But then we have to have an open philosophy as to kind of how that data works, because those are the very challenges that we were looking to help overcome, kind of data that's difficult to access. So yeah, that open approach to kind of saying that there are enough challenges to go around, basically. That's what we've like, there's enough to deliver, so we can be greater than the sum of our parts by finding a way to get through this together.
Great. Does anyone have any questions?
I've got one.
Yep.
Can you tell me what the business model is for Ava?
Yes, indeed. So we have essentially it's license based. So the end user has a license to access that data. So a monthly subscription essentially to access the Ava dashboard. And then the organization that collects the data has a monthly license for the data collection and transmission. And then ultimately the two things then tie together. So the whole and the leasing of the equipment is part of that initial setup as well. So yeah, the idea is it's a very kind of like easy access model. It could be set up within days. User licenses are set up within, as long as within sort of 24 hours of receiving the email address is all we need. So that's how it's kind of rapidly grown within Network Rail.
Thank you. One further question. As Liam knows, my interests lie not just with rail, but outside in other transport industries. How flexible or motivated would you be to explore other transport types? And is Ava the right solution?
Yeah, absolutely. We went back to the beginning, like rail was where we focused. We as we all know, kind of focus is key, but again, it was built to be kind of industry agnostic, so it can easily move into other environments. We've just started working in the construction industry as well, so we're very open to knowing where there's a challenge and kind of repositioning ourselves into that environment. So yeah, that's exactly the sort of the conversation we like to have.
I'll be in touch.
Great.
I have a question for Emily.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, it was really interesting presentation actually. I can see what was frightening actually was realizing how much duplication of work Ava's helped prevent. So many people going out doing their own little silo. I can see how Ava would come in with signage and vegetation, points detection. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so that's part of so we have a kind of machine learning capability as well. And that R&D project was about trying to detect if points have been left out of position following possession. So when, so essentially nighttime work essentially. And if the vehicle had been moved off and the points were out of possession, I can understand, again, sometimes our terminology isn't quite up to scratch, but essentially you can have a derailment if they're left in the kind of open or closed position. So the concept there was that at very slow speed, Ava would try and detect whether in which position they were, and if they were open when they should have been closed, then it would send an alert. That's at the very forefront of the machine learning that we're doing. So it can be used for that. But for another example of the same kind of concept is that it's been deployed to detect heat in the third rail. So it's using a slightly different camera that detects a thermal camera. Essentially, it's doing the same process, but it's trying to detect when there's a spike in the temperature to indicate that there's a fault on the rail, and then teams can attend that because otherwise it's kind of visually undetectable. So it's about what's the challenge at the sharp end, and which bits of technology can enable you to see that. But yeah, some of our work is on the machine learning part of it as well. I couldn't fit that into the presentation. You'd all be hungry by the time.
No, that's fine, because that's great, because that explains that, because I was curious about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, it's developing models because we have such a huge, rich lake of data now, or say the organizations have a huge, rich lake of data. There is now the opportunity to develop that machine learning on top of that, which it adds even more intelligence and insight into that review capability. So, yeah.
Yes, thanks for that.
Yeah, I've got a follow-up question on that because I like to get sometimes into technical detail. So what would, if the third rail is overheating, what does that tell us, and what does that prevent in terms of the passenger experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So if the third rail is overheating, then it's indicating that there's something at fault within those boxes essentially that sit. So maybe I can share. I don't think I've got an image to share, but essentially with using the thermal camera looking at the rail, when there is a spike in the temperature, it will that will be detected using machine learning, and then the corresponding video can then be viewed instantly when that alert's been raised, which essentially gives it the location and the actual bit of equipment that has got overheating wiring in it essentially, and then the teams can then attend that and mend that safely at the side of the track, so that actually it then doesn't fault, which means then it loses the power to that area and it takes operational trains out of service, and then you've got a much bigger repair job as a result of that. So that's very much at the forefront of kind of preventative maintenance.
I think that's really interesting, because I remember the event last year in Bristol, and I think somebody asked the question about how do you get into rail, and how do we get innovation into rail? And I think one of my answers was that you do need to listen, and you do need to sell something that operators and manufacturers want to buy. And I think your success is actually attributed to the fact that you listen to what's needed and what the problems are solving. Because I think, I don't think we've got any train operators on today or whatever, but some people that buy stuff, I think quite often you get calls saying, I've got this product and I want to sell it in, but it's not necessarily selling a problem, solving the problem. It's just selling something that I think is innovative and you might want. And I think that's a testament to that product and how successful you've been, because I don't think it's been a shorter journey as maybe Liam says it is, because 2 or 3 years is a long time, I think. And I think it has to be attributed to that listening, and just listening to the customers, what their needs are, and being flexible and open to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Emily, where now?
Oh, where now? Lunch. No. So where now? So we are growing our the use of Ava is moving really rapidly across different disciplines, which is really exciting. So we're doing a lot now on our kind of user engagement and support. So the ability to kind of train. One of the things we really wanted was to make sure the user interface was really clean and really sort of almost B2C rather than B2B. So it's not very engineering, it's very kind of intuitive and nice to use online. So we're doing a lot on ensuring that all the users are up to speed with how it works, and kind of training, and so that's kind of ensuring the use of it. We've got kind of multiple projects being discussed on our intelligent video capability overall, and sort of the machine learning that we can potentially bring to that as well. Ideally, we'd want to see Ava on board all operational trains, or also integrated into cameras that are already on board. And certainly, we've been having discussions along those lines, that actually if there is something already there capturing video data, Ava can sit behind that and connect to that and still do the same job, but not add another bit of kit on top of what is already there. So again, it's kind of like saying what's already there, let's not reinvent the wheel, but let's sit within that within that environment as well, but bring to it the bit that's unique that we can do as well. So yeah, ideally, if Ava was on all operational trains, it could be used for incident management as well. So all sorts of examples where things happen that you want to see what has happened and exactly what location it's happened, and I think we all know multiple environments where that can help sort of keep people safer and manage things more efficiently as well. So yeah, and UK transport UK rail is really where we want to grow. Yeah, but equally we're looking for other opportunities as well. So yeah.
So get in touch. if you have opportunity.
Indeed. If anyone wants anything solved in the video world, come and chat to us. But yeah, Ava is yeah, it's really exciting. And yeah, the winning that award and being shortlisted in the RIA Rise Award is a real kind of like you know, it sort of sets a bit of a marker, I think, for us as well. Like we can now.
Oh, she's gone.
No, I was just about to say good luck for this evening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Emily.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. We've got our fingers crossed for you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
My little drinks pack here that was delivered.
Oh, good, yeah.
The Rise Awards. Hope you got yours ready as well.
I have. I've got my gin, 2 little bottles of gin and vodka arrived. I was hoping for the fancy stuff that went with it, but I'll have to raise the cupboard for a bit of apple or something to put in it, the actual cocktail stuff.
Cool. Great. Well, thanks for all for joining us. As we mentioned, there is the session next week. Johanna is facilitating on ticketing. There's a survey as well, which I'm going to put a note out about to help inform that. And then we've got another Munch and Learn in 2 weeks' time. So more details about that online. But thanks all for joining us today.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thanks everyone. Have a good one. Take care.
Thanks.